Hey everyone, great to be here. First of all, before I begin, it's a very technical audience. The more questions you have, the better. It's quite a novel concept. There's a lot of different things that people think about spider chains. I'm going to present spider chains, by the way. And so if you have any questions, just throw it out there. Very happy to answer them. And yeah, welcome to talk about spider chains. So I work at Botanix Labs. We're building an EVM sidechain that has a different set of trade-offs. Actually, at the end, we'll compare the different set of trade-offs between rollups, spider chains, and Lightning Network, and why each of these will play a massive role in the future. So first of all, I think why we're all here is because we share one big mission. And I think often there's cannibalism in the world of crypto and Bitcoin. But in the end, we want the whole world actually to convert to a Bitcoin standard. And that is very hard. We all know that Bitcoin on the base layer cannot scale in that. And so I want to put that out there. That's basically actually also the mission statement of Botanix itself, but I think in broader of all of us here. So yeah, where do I start? Also, do I need a mic or can you guys hear me well? What? Can you hear me? Okay, then I'll stay here. Oh, perfect. That's better. All right. So the best way to think about spider chains, I will make a reference to the Lightning Network first, and then we'll park that, and then I'll explain what spider chains are. So when you think about the Lightning Network, and you look at it from like a very high level, it is a network of 2 out of 2 multisigs. If you and I open a channel, that's a 2 out of 2 multisig. If you open a channel with someone else, that's a 2 out of 2 multisig, which is HTLCs, et cetera, et cetera. But from a very high level perspective, that is actually a global network consistent of 2 out of 2 multisigs. Now imagine if all of those node operators come together in a proof of stake consensus and secure an EVM. That is from a very, very high level, plain level overview what spider chains is. So park that idea. Network of 2 out of 2 multisigs. So we park that, and then we make it bigger. So what you will do with spider chains is you can basically have 10,000 or 100,000 full nodes, and you all come together in a proof of stake consensus, and you create this decentralized network of multisigs. And so, for example, if we start with multisig 1, you will randomly choose 100 participants out of all the nodes, out of 10,000 nodes, and they will secure multisig 1. So that is here on the presentation, that's MS1, right? And then you do that again. Again, you randomly choose 100 participants out of 10,000 different nodes, and they will secure multisig 2. And then you do that again, you create a third multisig. Again, you randomly choose 100 participants out of all different node operators, and they will secure MS3. And then you create MS4, MS5, MS6, MS7, and you keep creating new multisigs. And so after a while, you have this overall decentralized network where anyone can participate in of like these bigger multisig sizes. And there's a lot of very interesting benefits you can get from that. But that's the basis where the actual Bitcoin resides in. That's where the Bitcoin sits on the base layer in this network of multisigs. Then everyone, in order to participate in the network, you will have to stake Bitcoin. So you stake Bitcoin, then you can participate. You can participate in the next multisigs that are being created. You can also exit, and you all secure an EVM with that. And so when a user sends Bitcoin to that multisig, then basically he gets Bitcoin on the EVM. That's a native currency on the EVM. And then it's a full EVM equivalent execution environment. So basically exactly like Ethereum, but the whole thing runs with Bitcoin as the gas fees. That's a little bit how the spider chain looks like from a very high level perspective. Any basic questions on that? Okay, let me continue. So before we continue, a few aspects that immediately jump out when you hear this. We run a proof of stake consensus. Consensus comes with a lot of drawbacks. Consensus means you need all these nodes across the world to gossip to each other, to talk to each other, and that basically, and you end up with the blockchain trilemma. So that means slow. Consensus means slower block times, unfortunately. Second is, of course, the Bitcoin being staked. But that's the basic design of the Spiderchain. By the way, if people wonder why it's called Spiderchains, it's basically because I was drawing this on a whiteboard and someone walked past and saw that multisig and was like, why are you drawing a chain of spiders? That person had nothing to do with Bitcoin or crypto, but that's how it ended up being called Spiderchains. So yeah, very quick overview. Decentralized multisigs, that's how we call it, basically capable to have 10,000 different operators, 100,000 different operators. You'll stake Bitcoin on Bitcoin, come together in a proof of stake consensus. Anyone can join, and then you will basically generate a multitude of different multisigs. One big reason why we create this series of multisigs. You can, of course, consider the alternative, and we've seen a lot of different layer 2s basically having one big honeypot. And you could ask yourself, why would you create all these series of multisigs? Why don't you just create one big one, right? It's actually because it gives you a lot of different security benefits. One of them is forward security. One often mentioned misconception is that an honest majority would be able to steal all the Bitcoin in Spiderchains. That's not true, because it's forward secure. So forward security is a concept that comes from cryptography, forward secrecy, typically from encryption. And so forward secrecy basically means if you would steal someone's key, they wouldn't be able to decrypt older messages. And so the same concept applies here. And let me explain what that actually means. So while you are creating this series of multisigs, so multisig 1, 2, 3, 4, you have basically this series in time. And so at some point in time, let's say after MS3 here, what if someone suddenly gains majority control over the whole staker set? So we run on a 2/3 multisig majority. So what if someone gains 2/3 majority of the whole staker set? Let's say a North Korea or something comes in with 200,000 Bitcoin, slowly accumulates over time, hides it so that nobody knows it. It's unclear. So it's all open. It's all open code. Anyone can see what's happening, but they have this weird Sybil way that they can hide that they actually have 2/3 majority of the network. They can steal exactly 0 Bitcoin. And the reason is, when you think about MS1, the security of MS1 depends on, like, at that point in time, what the 2/3 majority is. Since the attacker only has 2/3 majority after this point in time, they won't be able to steal anything from MS1. They won't be able to steal anything from MS2, and they won't be able to steal anything from MS3. So at that point in time, a 2/3 majority attacker cannot steal anything of the Bitcoin, only in the future. So basically from MS4, they'll be able to steal the Bitcoin. Yeah.
Usually that would rely on the people in MS1 deleting their keys.
No. So people in MS1 are still there. But that 2/3 majority that has, at this point at MS4 in time, that has 2/3 majority control over MS4, does not have 2/3 majority control over MS1. Like if you would sell old keys, then yeah, you would have to buy.
My funds away, right? Like
Yeah.
I was part of MS1, then I moved my funds away, and then someone comes and offers me like a nice pot of money for my keys in MS1. And I say to do that.
Yeah. Now you're confusing two different attacks. So let's say indeed in MS1, you would want to do an attack on purely MS1, not the whole network, but MS1 on its own. MS1 has 100 signers. You want 2/3 majority there, so 67. You basically make a deal to those 67. You send out a transaction. We will steal all the Bitcoin in MS1. You will get a share. Everyone gets their own 100th of the share. And that's basically where the stake comes in. So the total collateral for MS1 is 100 times the stake. And so if there's not that much Bitcoin in MS1, you will never steal that. No, it never ends, so you basically get slashed. So the cool thing about the Spiderchain is that the collateral is basically like it's not you cannot compare the total collateral. Like the total collateral is actually the amount of multisigs times the amount of stake that is in one single multisig. So you don't have to be over-collateralized because you spread it out in a multitude of multisigs. So for example, if there's 100 Bitcoin in MS1 and the collateral is 500 Bitcoin, then basically you slash all 100 signers and you can cover that 100 Bitcoin with the 500 Bitcoin that's in stake. Yes?
Yeah, sorry, this is a 15-minute talk, and
Yes.
I don't think that there's enough time for you to present like the system, how it works,
Perfect.
the model to like convince people that you get forward security. So maybe this is a good thing to take offline or read about how Botanix is structured, like, you know.
That's a good point.
I don't think
I don't know how I am on time.
fully explain enough to really get to that here.
Yes, that's a good point. Let me actually go to this slide, which is its last slide. So we talked a little bit about the design of the Spiderchain. What does that mean for rollups? What does that mean for the Lightning Network? There's a whole set of tech trade-offs. Basically, rollups, and I think personally they should double down on being more centralized and extremely high throughput. If you're centralized but trustless and you create proofs, then you can go massive high throughput because you don't need to gossip around different nodes. You don't need to come to consensus. For Spiderchains, you do have a consensus, but you are more decentralized, which gives you a lot of different benefits, like censorship resistance, like liveness, like upgradability, but it comes at the cost of being more slow. Lightning Network, we know it's fast, free payments, and it's trustless, doesn't have execution environments. And so those are different tech trade-offs between the different technologies. What does that mean in terms of the market, in terms of applications? And this is my guess, but I think that will play out. Lightning Network will be the last mile payments, so basically for merchants, peer-to-peer. Rollups will have high throughput applications. Basically, once you're like very centralized, you can go extremely high throughput, which is like, 0.1 second block times. And there's a huge amount for demand for that. What I think is the applications for Spiderchains is a decentralized financial system. And the reason why is I think a financial system has to be decentralized. If you run centralized nodes, you don't want any country in the world to basically control the financial system. Even though it would be trustless, but it basically gives a lot of power to a certain amount of countries. It basically ties into the censorship resistance of Spiderchains versus rollups. And so each set of trade-offs is a trade-off between throughput, decentralization, and cost. And that's a little bit how I see the world of different designs for L2s play out. And we need all of them, basically. Like if you want to run the whole world on Bitcoin with all different applications, you need all of them. And that was it.